Udo on the go. We're live with
I'm Renato Stabile. I'm a criminal defense attorney and trial consultant here in New York.
All right, we're live in front of the federal court building. Puff Daddy's trial is ongoing. We've got the jury selection process going on. We've seen a couple of things going on today with one of the missing victims. Can you talk to us a little bit about that?
Yeah, so it's reported that the person identified as victim 3 in the indictment is not in touch with the prosecution, and that the prosecution is having difficulty getting in touch with her lawyer. That is highly unusual for a witness to go missing on the eve of trial, and apparently they're trying to find her, and nobody seems to know exactly where she is or what's going on. It's even more unusual that her lawyer is not in touch with the prosecution. So we're going to see if they can find her. If they can't find her, then they're going to have to go through the trial without her.
Wow. So also the defense is actually making claims that maybe Cassie has, like the victims have a propensity for violence. They're trying to make some claims of things like that. What could you speak to about them accusing maybe it's like mutual combat, something like that?
Yeah, I mean, I haven't heard the claims about who is, has a propensity for violence. I know there were some allegations early on when Diddy was trying to get bail about whether or not he was trying to, or have his people reach out to certain witnesses. Okay. So I'm sure that is in the back of the prosecution's mind. There's been no evidence of that, and of course he is presumed innocent of all charges, and there's no allegation that he has, done anything. But of course, any sort of interference with a witness, that's its own charge. It's witness tampering, it's obstruction of justice. So, I'd be very surprised if we heard something like that.
Yeah. And we did see some pictures of Cassie, right? So she's pregnant. So by the time, if she's called to speak, if anything, she could be visibly pregnant. So how do you feel that could look, or how that could work out for the defense team, or what's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, so in terms of the defense, from the defense perspective, having a visibly pregnant sexual assault victim on the stand is the worst possible timing for them. I think they have to be a little bit more careful than they would have been in terms of how aggressively they go after her. Especially the last thing you want to do when you're cross-examining a sexual assault victim is having them break down on the stand, start crying, then the court has to take a break, let her step out, and the jurors start to hate the defense attorneys if they feel like they're unfairly going after her. But look, on the other side, they do have a job to do. Hopefully the jurors will understand that. They have to represent Diddy with every fiber in their body. He has to get a zealous defense. He is presumed innocent. So at the end of the day, you have to do your job.
So what about the jury selection process? Because, they said it was concluded, but now it's looking like maybe on Monday it would be really, really finalized. Like, what's going on with the jury selection process?
Yeah, so the last part of jury selection always is the exercising of peremptory strikes. So the defense has 10, the prosecution has 6, then they have a few more for the alternates. But those are strikes that they can use to get rid of a person in the jury pool for any reason at all. Now, they can't get rid of them for unconstitutional reasons. You can't strike somebody because of their race. You can't strike somebody because of their gender. Obviously, those are both factors in this case. He's a black defendant, and it's, alleged violence against women. So everybody's going to be watching to make sure that nobody's exercising their strikes in an unconstitutional way. But other than that, you can strike a person for any reason. You can strike a person based on the way they're dressed, based on the way they answer questions, based on the way they look at Diddy. If Diddy doesn't like the way somebody's looking at him in the courtroom, he can say to his lawyers, you know what, I have a bad vibe, let's get rid of this person.
So Monday, everything's going to be kicking off. So what can we expect on Monday?
Yeah, so Monday you're going to have the opening statement from the prosecution. They go first. They lay out their case, they give the highlights, and then the defense will stand up. And, sometimes the defense opening can be very detailed. Sometimes it can be very general, just saying, remember the burden of proof. Remember he's presumed innocent. Remember the government has to prove their case beyond a reasonable doubt. I don't know which way the defense opening is going to go, if it's going to be very detailed, if they're going to lay out specific evidence, or if it's going to be more general. But you're going to have the opening statements, then you're probably going to have your first witness. I don't know who that is, but they'll get through some testimony on